and welcome, friends, to our Sunday meeting. This lodge meets every Sunday. As you're aware, the lodges are spread all over the world, and our lodge is faithful to the founders of the Theosophical movement, and each lodge is independently organized, even though there is no organization per se. The work of the lodge is the dissemination of the fundamental principles of the philosophy of Theosophy and the exemplification of those principles in the lives of the students who practice it. It shows a realization of self and a conviction that universal brotherhood is at the root of all human life. Its aim is dissemination, and this aim is shown among the unity of the Theosophists who do the work themselves, and there is similarity of aim, purpose, and teaching amongst all ULT members. There are no bylaws or officers. It regards as Theosophists all those who are engaged in true service of humanity without distinction of race, creed, sex, condition, or organization, and it welcomes everyone to its association who are in accord with its declared purposes and fit themselves by study and otherwise to help and teach others. The true Theosophist belongs to no cult or sect, yet belongs to each and all. Today's reading is from The Voice of the Silence. The cloak of darkness is upon the deep of matter. Within its folds I struggle. Beneath my gaze it deepens, Lord. It is dispelled beneath the waving of thy hand. A shadow moveth, creeping like the stretching serpent coils. It grows, swells out, and disappears in darkness. It is the shadow of thyself outside the path, cast on the darkness of thy sins. Yea, Lord, I see the path, its foot in mire, its summit lost in glorious light nirvanic. And now I see the ever-narrowing portals on the hard and thorny way to Jnana. Thou seest well, Lanu, these portals lead the aspirant across the waters onto the other shore. Each portal hath a golden key that openeth its gate, and these keys are: 1. Dana or Dana, the key of charity and love immortal. 2. Sheila, the key of harmony in word and act, the key that counterbalances the cause and the effect, and leaves no further room for karmic action. 3. Shanti, patience sweet that naught can ruffle. 4. Raga, indifference to pleasure and to pain, illusion conquered, truth alone perceived. 5. Virya, the dauntless energy that fights its way to the supernal truth out of the mire of lies terrestrial. 6. Dhyana, whose golden gate, once opened, leads the Narjol toward the realm of Sat eternal and its ceaseless contemplation. 7. Prajna, the key to which makes of a man a god, creating him a bodhisattva, son of the Dhyanis. Such to the portals are the golden keys. Today's talk is on foundation of ethics.
Thank you. Friends, in the deep of matter that we are currently in, Many are relying on what is referred to as the I or head doctrine, and perhaps the common definition of ethics, which is stated in Webster as the study of standards of conduct and moral judgment, moral philosophy, the system or code of morals of a particular person, religion, group, profession, so forth. Along the way, some come to realize that such standards and codes are external attempts to apply nature's law of brotherhood, at least to specific groups. If we also realize in this era of spiritual darkness that we must apply self-induced and self-devised methods to unfold the knowledge and wisdom that is within us, we come to recognize and appreciate the ethics underlying nature's law of universal brotherhood, which we find in the Theosophical glossary as equal-minded, action that harms no one and is for the good of all, requires real knowledge because real knowledge goes hand in hand with true ethics. Discrimination, which is a very important idea here, as we apply the Theosophical definition of ethics, is found in the heart doctrine, which the original authors desired to offer for study by aspirants to wisdom. It is often a meaning concealed within a meaning. It is within our fundamental nature to strive for moral values and a higher life. We search for a beacon light to guide us, feeling that our own thinking is inadequate. We then fall into the trap of a false sense of certainty by the illusion that if we follow externally established rules, we are okay. This false sense of certainty tends to arrest the growth of moral nature found within each of us. Ethics is associated with morality. Morality is a field of conscious choice and action. The moral nature is primarily concerned with intent or motive. The moral or spiritual nature impels people to service of their fellows and produces the humanitarians and altruists of this and every age. Reincarnation or embodiment is the universal process of development. The means by which each human soul, through our power of choice, has made us what we are. The doctrine of reincarnation and its twin sister karma causes man to see his own responsibility, not only for his own destinies, but for the destiny of all. It makes a man a god. In the words of Mr. Judge, the self-compelling basis for right ethics is found in these, reincarnation and karma, and in no other doctrines. To the degree that we apply the foundation of ethics in our every thought and action, to that degree do we awaken the spiritual nature within ourselves, and to that degree are we in a position to help and teach others. But we must seriously aspire to be wiser, by both one, continuous efforts to promulgate the ethics and philosophy found in nature's laws, and two, having unfailing devotion to self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is possible only when every moment becomes a moment of preparation. Preparation through clarification and right use of the instrument of the soul, including development of true knowledge of the spiritual condition of man, his aim, and his destiny. As each of us uses each moment, we shift the future up or down for good or for ill. The only way we can alter the correct condition of humanity is by such action now as makes of each one a center for good, a force guided by wisdom that makes for righteousness. Through practice and wisdom, we learn to speak with the meanest among us with effect, although having a deeper doctrine for greater and more learned minds. The development of such wisdom goes hand in hand with the practical universal brotherhood. As for speech, we are advised that speech is the most difficult of all acts to control. Control requires regular and persistent effort. The form of rule for speech is given as, let him say what is true, number one. Truth is always truth, but to serve good purpose, it must fit the context of its presentment. So let him say what is useful. Let him say what is pleasant. Let him utter no disagreeable truth. Let him utter no agreeable falsehood. Let us use with care those living messages called words, Mr. Judge said. So the intelligence connected with what we term physical matter is concerned with the production of form, which is the basis of separative existence. Soul is drawn by matter toward the separative existence, and also toward realization of a universal existence by spirit. We can see each other physically, but we know that intuitively that there is more behind us and each individual than that physical appearance. Soul selects its states of consciousness by means of concentration, the use of will. If a person identifies himself with the intellectual nature, his psychic nature, or his physical nature, he forgets that he is a being of choice. He then will sell cheaply his chances for soul progress to the first one who offers him happiness. Herein is the origin of all religions, the secret behind the success of the messiahs who promise salvation without self-discipline. The ancient Zoroastrians handed on to us timeless fundamental guidance on ethics. For man, purity, they said, is the greatest good even from its birth. Anyone in the world can win purity for himself, namely when he cleanses himself with good thoughts, good works, good words, and good deeds. Older-Iranians, Mazda's law of purity was the weapon to destroy the impure being of their own passion nature. The Older-Iranians' reverence for the great elements and the whole of nature sprang from the idea that it was the religious duty of man not only to refrain from polluting, but to raise and elevate all the kingdoms of the manifested universe. The law of purity is the law of wisdom. Through wisdom is created the world of righteousness. Through wisdom is subjugated every evil, and through wisdom is perfected every good. One is not to seek his own welfare and advantages through the injury of anyone else. Thus he becomes compassionate. As regards all creatures. In duty and good works, he is diligent and persistent. There is no trace of any precarious method of gaining happiness and spiritual insight. The person himself has to fight the evil and refrain from it, to befriend the good and practice it. The struggle which rages within man is long and protracted, but through the soul fire, the faithful, purified of their sins, come to immortality. The rich metaphors and symbols found in such ancient teachings as has been described provide important proofs of the existence of the universal wisdom religion from which all religions and philosophies sprang. Says HPB, the origin of the Brahmins and Magi in the night of time is one the secret doctrine teaches us, she said. First, there were a hierarchy of adepts of men profoundly versed in physical and spiritual sciences and occult knowledge, all celibates, and enlarging their numbers by the transmission of their knowledge to voluntary neophytes. Now scattered far and wide, we can trace them establishing other hierarchies on the model of the first in every part of the globe. Such adept messages are all of one thought, one speech, one deed. They see from afar one another's soul, thinking of good thoughts, good words, good deeds, and the world of light. They assure us that they are always with us, whether we know it or not, and that they will take a step toward appearing to us as we steadfastly seek guidance from the Master within to become like them. But no plan for the improvement of life can fully succeed unless regard is had for the complex nature of man. This includes consideration of the meaning of morality in man's innermost life. In this regard, Plato was concerned with the waste and perversion of the most precious thing in human nature, the capacity for attaining truth. The associated moral law for attaining truth and the basis for its operation in the human being can be found within within that synthesis of science, religion, and philosophy, which is the secret doctrine of all ages. HPB noted that the definite harmony or disharmony of man's external nature is seen by the observant to depend wholly on the character of the keynote struck for the outer by inner man. This is also summed up by the biblical command of Jesus, which is, Be ye not as the Pharisees, who make clean the outside of the platter. If we want to make clean the inside of the platter, we must feed our inner nature a diet of unselfish thoughts and deeds, untiring devotion to the welfare of humanity, absolute negation of self, and unalterable aspiration to the supreme soul. It is the spiritual ego or self that serves as the fundamental basis determining the tone of the whole life of man. Therefore, H.B. reminded us that man, in addition to the physical, has also a spiritual brain. All grows and develops and strives toward perfection on the planes of externality. But on the ultimate plane of the spiritual essence, all is, and remains therefore immutable. It is toward this eternal S that everything, as every being, is gradually, almost imperceptibly, but as surely as the universe of stars and worlds moves toward a mysterious point observed but unnamed by astronomy and called by the occultists the central spiritual sun. Justice is a living principle in the human heart, which works itself out in the conduct of life. Justice, or karma dharma, is the single pervading law of which the universe is the manifestation. When the organization of society, law, religion, science, and art are seen to be products ultimately of the human soul, we may measure their ethical content by their more or less true expression of an inner principle of life working itself out in these cultural processes. Because of this, HPB warned her readers, mere physical philanthropy, apart from the infusion of new influences and ennobling conceptions of life into the minds of the masses, is worthless. The gradual assimilation by mankind of great spiritual truths will alone revolutionize the face of civilization. We stamp out selfish ambition by emulating Jesus' creed that we love others as much as we love ourselves. When we truly love our fellow man, we are in a position to admire rather than to envy. The earnest study of such books as is shown here, Isis Unveiled, The Secret Doctrine, The Key to Theosophy, The Ocean of Theosophy, The Voice of the Silence, and the Bhagavad Gita, help make one an agent for brotherhood. HPB says in The Key to Theosophy that the final goal cannot be reached in any way but through life experiences, and the bulk of these consist in pain and suffering. It is only through the latter that we can learn. Joys and pleasures teach us nothing. The key also tells us that the object of doing our duties to all men and to ourselves the last is not the attainment of personal happiness, but of the happiness of others. The fulfillment of right for the sake of right, not for what it may bring to us. Happiness, or rather contentment, may indeed follow the performance of duty, but it is not and must not be the motive for it. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna first loves even his enemies. His first object is not the mere winning of a battle, but rather the desire to deal justly. From his desire to know truth, from his ethical basis of right and wrong, he is able to recognize one who knows more than does his lower self, that one being his higher self, or Krishna. These great ethical values form the basis for the 7 keys in the voice of the silence read by the first speaker, including charity and love immortal, harmony in word and act, patience and indifference to pleasure and to pain. It is in the voice of the silence that one finds the essence of the ethical teachings of all the world. In summary, assimilation of the message of the Masters into every moment of our lives leads to the exercise of discrimination and real patience. That calmness and equal-mindedness which enables the spirit in the body to see any situation just for what it is. There is no pride in true patience. It works steadily on and gives to all a free and equal opportunity. True human dignity and real humility and kindness requires patience. Perseverance goes hand in hand with patience. Constancy requires it. Assiduity and devotion demands it. No one can do anything really well without it. There are other major points on applying ethics in specific areas, such as exemplifying effort rather than performance. If we are steadfast in our efforts, our performance will improve, although the improvement may be imperceptible based on our current measurement instruments. The idea is to ever keep trying, keep on trying. So let's stop here to allow time for your questions and comments. Microphone, please. While we're waiting for questions, if we have a question here.
In practicing moral and ethical behavior, what's the importance of karma and reincarnation?
Well, karma comes back to us, what we need. Sometimes always the result of what's done in the past, plus what we need to develop in the future. Reincarnation is the idea that it's a fact in nature that we set our bed, if you will, for the next incarnation, and it impels us to act responsibly and try to help and teach others for the purpose of moving humanity forward. We do that on an individual basis. That's where our center of light is within ourselves, and let that light so shine before the world. And it catches on, and then humanity and group moves forward as we do that. So reincarnation and karma are keys to this whole philosophy.
And in this philosophy, one of the ideals is perfectibility. How is that possible in one short lifetime anyway?
That's another reason for the teachings of reincarnation. Yes, very few of us have made it in one short lifetime, the Buddha being an example given as one who has made it. But that's a rare occurrence. We probably have to, even in a case like that, have to necessary to be perfected. But each one of us, like the writing says, we said that each person, it makes a person a God, because we are gods in training under the idea of reincarnation. And as long as we're out there doing the best we can, no matter what our intelligence level, etc., if we're doing the best we can, and our vehicle is such that it's very limited, and virtually all of our vehicles are limited in some way or another, we will improve that vehicle, and in the next life, perhaps we will come in with a more fit vehicle for what we're trying to do.
You have also listed on the board a speech. This student read that the speech has to become purposeful. Can you please comment on that?
Yeah, in this little blurb, this letter, I think maybe you should reread this because it's very important. Purposeful speech, meaning let him say what is useful. That's those four things here. Let him say what is true. Let him say what is useful. Let him say what is pleasant. Let him utter no disagreeable truth. Let him utter no agreeable falsehood. That is a very major challenge. And speech should be always purposeful. Now, it may be, say, hey, well, let's not do any small talk if we want to have purposeful speech. Small talk can be purposeful too. Then it becomes more than small talk. But the Buddha, as it said in this talk too, could speak to the meanest person with effect. He could then turn around, go to his esoteric section, his more advanced students, and speak to them with effect. Because he knew how to not only say the truth, which is very difficult for even us to perceive through the lenses of this world, but he knew the truth, and he could tell the truth to that meanest person as well as to the most advanced students that were with him at that time. Purposeful speech. And he was, and we look at the Dalai Lama today. He has pleasant speech. This student has always seen him as being pleasant, and he's also always very, very straightforward and simple. And not that his audiences are all simple, but he's connected with his audience, is what this student is trying to say. He seems to know what his audience needs to hear. And he says it in a very straightforward and simple way. Well, we've got a little bit more time, so we will continue on with some other items on the list until we have another question. And these are all items lifted out of speaking of wisdom. Careful speaking, it says, is a sign of wisdom. In speech is reflected all that goes into thinking. If impurity in mind persist, even the sound of the speech will reflect internal blemishes. The sage has so carefully controlled his own thought and speech that nothing can upset his balance. So, right speech, it says, is an important step in the direction of eliminating world evils. Right speech does not offend or harm in the least any creature in the world. A way to control speech is to think of the probable effect of what one is about to say. This ensures deliberation, and the speech carries with it the force of intention.
What about our society today? we have Facebook, Twitter, all these new ways of communication, but is it used purposefully?
It can be. It could be used. That's a tremendous opportunity for those who want to be purposeful in their speech. Yes. We got a one-on-one. We've got groups of groups getting together and talking about topics. I think this student is extremely important. For this student anyway. This is what he has learned a lot about Theosophy, which he had never heard of 20 years ago or more. But whatever mechanism we use, we can take advantage of that mechanism and use it for good. And we see many opportunities to turn it around and use it for good too. But the more experienced, the more skilled we are, the more careful we are with understanding what our mission in life is, which is we are really messages of the all. We are here to serve a purpose, which is to uplift all around us. The ancient Zoroastrian left us with that message many moons ago, which is really the foundation of Theosophy. So we're still working on getting it, like you said here. We might make progress so imperceptibly that we don't even aren't able to measure it. But that's also an opportunity for us to grow in patience, to grow in dedication, to stay with it. It's easy to stay with it in good times. When nobody, when you're there by yourself, giving a talk or trying to work with us, like Mr. Judge in HPV District 2, he would be speaking to empty rooms sometimes. But he would keep on going. And he left us valuable guidance along with HPV, who is the messenger of the masses, recognizes that. So here we've got everything for us that we need to assimilate this message, and it's up to us to make of it what we will. There are other things here, but if there are no other questions, we will call it, we'll hit a couple more paragraphs, more items on the list. We're talking about there's lots of things in Theosophy. We're not going to go into each individual one. All kinds of things about leadership, more about speech, more about the pathetic shallowness of thought we have to deal with in this world today. But we have here an opportunity to make a difference in this world. Kali Yuga, we've had plenty of opportunities, so we can't complain about not having those. And here's another comment too. Theosophists are often criticized and so forth. Theosophists are anti-nothing, it says, except their own selfishness and man's inhumanity to man. So they are for altruism and universal brotherhood. Success in such work with such an end in view permits no deviation from Theosophy's central theme of thought, will, and feeling. It allows no division of energies into lesser channels of reform. And sometimes Theosophists are criticized for that because people come in and think we should be doing one thing or another. We try to devote this hour to the philosophy and then to go out and put it into our own minds. It allows no division of energies. The only way Theosophists can help the masses is by appealing to them on the basis of homely common sense, as Crosby said. We're going to call it quits for our video today and get together and have informal talks, etc. So, thank you. joining us. And next week we will start a series of roundtable study. It's going to last for the month of August, so September sometime we'll be back on camera.